So back this winter, I did a tractor story with Pat Green and his John Deere 4000. And Pat's a dairy farmer, but he mentioned that they're going to be getting out of dairy. And this week, I wanted to do a little farm documentation on some really cool farms in this area. And Pat's cows are getting ready to leave. So I asked him if we could document when they're still milking, because they're one of the few small dairy farms left, tie stall farms. So we're going to show you, the traditional Wisconsin dairy farm that was all over this area. There's the vacuum pump running, the compressor for the bulk tank. Just I love silos, so. The old DeLaBelle 78. I love a receiver jar. Milk coming into a receiver jar. So I know on camera you can't feel the temperature, but it is nice breeze through here this morning, and we've had some hot weather. There's some happy cows this morning. And Pat and I were just talking about the claws. So these are the mini DeLaBelle claws. They had the bigger ones. I forget what they call it. Orbit? Or no, that was Surge.
It was just a super claw, or what do they call it, super something, but we've had them, and then we had Harmony, which was a light plastic.
Yep.
With the no nipple on them.
Yep.
And then we went back to these.
So these fit your hand nice.
Yeah, but you can buy these aftermarket too.
Okay.
So I get parts for them. The IBA guy handles the parts, but
same with your pulsators. Those are the ones Jim Pater always sold, right?
Yep. Yeah, there's different versions of them, but yeah, I think they're all made over in Spain or overseas.
I always like the air pulsators. It just seems like when I had electric pulsators, you're chasing a broken wire or something, and
yeah, well, we had the Delitron pulsators here, and the trouble is the wire that they put for the pulsators was a solid wire.
Yep.
So if it got kinked, it broke. If it would have been a strand, it might have lasted longer. But
well, and those, if I remember right, those were really expensive pulsators too.
Yeah, but they were good. We hardly ever had trouble with them. These are a little troublesome, but you just gotta clean them, and I mean we can tear them apart, and we got parts for them. But
well, they're pretty cheap just to buy one too, if I remember right.
$100.
Yeah.
So you could run them a few years and then just buy a new one.
Yeah, back when I was milking, I think those DeLaBelle electric ones were $500.
Yeah.
So that's an 1.5-inch pipeline yet, ain't it?
No, it's 2 inch.
Is it 2?
It's a 2-inch vacuum. We put a pipeline in this barn in '72. It was a Surge. And Surge changed a few things over the years, and then we went to DeLaBelle in '78. We've been DeLaBelle ever since.
Okay.
So the original barn was to here.
Yep.
The old barn was 1917. Then this was just a pole shed built in the 50s. And then my dad, we hauled sand in here and put stalls in here in '68. So that was another 18. And then the north end, that was built in 1981. And Bud Blodgett did most all the cement work in this barn.
I think he did everybody's cement work.
Oh, God. Like James Way Sound Loaders.
Yeah.
Theirs.
Yeah,
Yeah, but see, when we did that north addition, we put a manure pump in. That was the best thing that ever happened to this farm. We eliminated the wintertime shit hauling.
Yep. Is your pit concrete?
Nope.
Okay, you got an earthen one.
Clay bottom.
Okay.
12 feet deep and no rock. So I mean, it's good. It's good ground, but we did do a cement wall on one corner.
Okay. Because I know Blodgett's poured a lot of pits. I think they poured mine.
Well, what they did, a lot of them guys like out your way, they did the semi-solid.
Yep.
So they put a cement bottom on them, and then they could haul them out.
Yeah.
Joe Rice did the same thing, but then he eventually added on to his pit, and he went to liquid. But
the semi-solid thing, well, John Shoemaker had one of those equalizers.
right, didn't they share it with some neighbors?
Yep, and Leon Henneman ended up buying it. Leon still got it, but I think they have LD Hall now mostly.
Yeah, well, Normie hauled for us for years,
Yeah.
and then now LD.
Yep.
And he's running into the same thing like anybody else that takes care of dairy farms. They're just getting to be fewer and fewer.
Well, Jay and I were talking about that yesterday. So when your cows leave, will it be Jim and Fiedler's left milking cows in Oak Grove?
Dave Most.
Okay.
Well, Fiedler's are actually Clifton.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they're just past the line.
Yeah, same with Hildebrandt, right?
Hildebrandt, yeah. Well, then you've got, well, I guess they're quitting too. Lubick Farm, and then still Linehan milks on the Hoopert Farm. They're still milking there, and Charlie Tarmerdal.
Okay.
So there's still a few guys, but I can see a lot of them throwing in the towel.
Well, I think Ellsworth Township, we were thinking you could probably count them on two hands for sure. Heartland, I think you can count them all on one hand.
Yeah, but you drive around the country, you can see empty barns everywhere, and it's really accelerated, it seems like, in the last 5 years.
I know it.
You had the 80s, took out a lot of them, and then, the last, like I said, 5 years or so, 10.
Yeah. So the edition, the last edition was 81.
Yep.
Did you add silos then at that time too?
Yeah.
Because one of those, so you got a Rochester out there, right?
Two Rochesters. One's an older Rochester with the rib.
Yep.
Dad put that up in 65. That's when you start putting haylage up then. And then there was an old cement one where the 20-foot Rochester is. That was a cement silo knocked down. And then we built the Weezer silo in 75.
That's poured.
Yep.
When was the Harvestore put up?
1980.
Okay, so that wasn't a used Harvestore. That was a new one?
Yeah, and it was a 20 by 60 because we had extra corn, and at that time you could sell high moisture corn. Ron Anderson and Mark Anderson hauled wet corn out of there up north. So guys up north that run out of corn, they'd buy high moisture.
Oh.
But that market died up. That dried up just, I don't know, a few years after we built the silo. So
yeah, because a 20 by 40 would have probably fed the cows, right?
right, there was a lot of them. Even a lot of shorter ones around here where guys had them was enough. I used to combine for Elvin and Dave Langer, and they had like a 30-some footer, and that was enough for their cows for the year. And
yeah, I had it's still there, but a Madison Nutramatic or Grainomatic is 20 by 35, and that was
what
enough.
got us to put it in, we 2 years before we built the Harvester, we ground corn and put it in a stave silo, but then we'd run out like in June.
Yep.
And the cows they didn't want dry corn. It's about like after you have a TMR.
Yeah.
When we were changing TMRs one time and we fed haylage and we're going to put corn, and the cows are like, what the hell is this, you know? Yeah, so we've had a TMR around here since 82.
82?
Yeah, we had a small Butler auger mixer. That didn't last long. That auger mixers with haylage and stuff. And then we bought from Vernon Kelly, a tumble one.
Yep.
So we had that for a long time. And then after that, we went to the outdoor. We started using bags more.
Yep. Yeah. That Harvester then you don't see a lot of them with the cow on them.
That was kind of a gift deal that time. What was his name? I can't think of his name, but they sold so many silos around them the last few years, in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
They sold tons of them in the county.
So was that Brave then? Was he working out of, okay.
Yep.
Brave out of Menominee.
Yep. Yeah, and they had to store at Independence too at that time.
Okay. Originally was that just the sweep the manual sweep.
Yeah, it's still there. That was never the best unloader.
No, a lot of them got switched to blade egg, Val metal.
Yeah, and then my neighbor over here, Lawrence, they put the chain unloaders in.
Yeah.
He had a power sweep one too, but they had some trouble with that.
Yeah. Well, do you ever get it completely empty or even run the sweep on it, or is it?
We have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we put the little wheel on the end of it, but.
Because I think a lot of guys just let it cone out, and there's probably high moisture corn that's been there for ever.
Yeah. Well, about like a hay barn.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. How old do you think the hay is on the floor of this hay mound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ours is pretty well cleaned out. I should show you up in the hay barn. Take a look at that, where that chute is right there.
Yep.
I got a switch there, so I drive the feed cart underneath that.
That's where the TMR drops?
No, I've got a chopper box in there that I dump the TMR into a chopper box.
Yep.
And then I've got a motor on a power unit that runs the PTO.
Yep.
It runs like half speed, like 250.
Yep.
Yeah, and so I can pull the cart in, flip the switch, and load the cart and feed. We used to dump the TMR on the floor and pitch it down.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, well, this is way better.
Yeah. Yeah, what's the 4320 going to do when the cows go?
Timmy will probably take it and turn it into a tractor puller. That thing's got hours on it, Jesus.
When are the cows going?
Probably September. I might keep some around to feed them, but I'm going to quit milking in September.
Are you going to have an auction?
No.
Okay.
We've been whittling. See, I got empty stalls here.
Yep.
We've been selling heifers since the spring, and I recently started selling spring and cows. So anybody that's not bred will go to market, and then anybody that's been in, and rebred, I'll probably try to sell as a mid to late lactation cow. I got some nice cows. Hopefully somebody will want them. They're not, high stall cows aren't real popular, but
but
market cows are worth a lot too.
Right.
And then John Hooper's been taking the spring and heifers, and then Charlie hauled some over to Premier.
Okay.
So it's been a process. It wasn't just we're going to quit one day and be done. It's been going on since last spring.
Yep.
So I quit breeding heifers, and the ones that I have are going on in the feedlot. So we just sold one the other day. It'll be the first fed heifer. I'll see how that goes. Steers are worth good. I think we're getting, in the 170s for the Holstein steers.
Yep.
But buying them back are going to that'll be a little bit of a challenge.
Well, I suppose the part of the decision to get out, I looked like the stalls are getting worn out, huh?
Yeah, well, like I said, we were going to build a freestall barn and parlor around 2000, and my brother died, so then that got scrapped. So then we just kept milking in here.
Yep.
So we have 70 stalls to this barn. So that was enough work. The heifer shed was built in the 80s. So the setup kind of just stayed the same.
Yep.
And then Timmy come back for a while to the farm. So after he quit, when value was shut down.
Yep.
But
He didn't want to keep milking?
no, we stuck it out for a little longer because of him. But otherwise, I was ready to quit a while ago. But I'm 65 and shot, so it's time
Yeah.
I sent you that video, that empty barn video, and that's what I saw like a year ago. But then after you kind of decide to quit, it's not quite so bad.
No, it takes a little getting used to, but it'd be different if it was more lucrative than it is. But it's a lot of work for not.
But then I was looking at the Dairy Star, and they were showing some dairy out in eastern Wisconsin going to 7,200 cows. Well, it's the
big thing. Remember when there used to be field men that stop at your farm and try and get your milk?
Yeah, well, there was creameries everywhere.
Yeah, they'd try and take you away from where you were shipping. And now everybody says, if you got a creamery, boy, you better
stick with them. And that doesn't doesn't guarantee it either. You
Right.
know, like Hastings, you know, they basically, anybody in Wisconsin that was shipping to Hastings got moved to Ellsworth.
Yeah.
Ellsworth is lucky they took them, but I mean, they had kind of a mutual agreement already, but
You shipped to Ellsworth always, didn't you?
yeah, our family did, yeah,
Yep.
from way back. So,
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to keep your milk quality up. You got to.
well, yeah, I always tell people when they bitch about the milk inspector, I mean, hey, you're selling highly perishable food, you know, you got to kind of try to do a decent job.
Yeah, I'll have to give you a book to read. I read this winter called The Round Barn, and it's about one family's farm down in Beloit, you know, right on the line.
Okay.
And they dairied back to the early 1900s, and it's the evolution of the dairy industry in Wisconsin because the pure milk and stuff. You know,
yeah,
because,
well, you just, first it started off with just cream, you know.
yeah. Well, and people were getting sick from TB and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what brought a lot of the milk inspectors and stuff along, was to regulate this.
Yeah.
And really good book. It's, you know, when you.
I get a kick out of going around and seeing some of these old farms that got the old clay tile silos and stuff, you know, just
Yeah.
like an area will have a certain kind of style barn. And you go
Yeah.
out of Duran, them barns have that, they extended out where the hay chute was and stuff,
Yep.
you know. There's just like whatever was built in the area.
Yeah. When was this? Is that an aluminum roof on this? The main
That was,
part?
my grandpa put that on there. This barn was built in 1917,
Yep.
and then my grandpa bought it from Julius in 28.
Julius owned that?
Yeah, and then he moved to Clayfield where Chetty's farm was.
Yep.
So my grandpa would have been his brother-in-law. So that's how that kind of worked out.
Okay.
So that's why we got a little tie with those guys.
Yeah. Well, Julius had bought a lot of. He had nice farms.
Yeah, but this farm he bought it in '08, so he had it for 20 years. So I don't know who had it before that, but.
Okay.
And,
But he built the barn then, Julius.
Yeah, yep. And then there was an old house. My grandma and grandpa built the house that's there now in like 33, I
Yep.
think. So they built a new house, and then the only other building that was well, there was a hog building that got tore down, and then there was a big chicken coop that got tore down where our dryer sits.
Okay.
But otherwise, this would be the only main building that was on the farm from way back.
Well, that aluminum roof has been on a long time. And,
Yeah, there's a couple of places where we had a patch after the '80 storm,
Yep.
and then last year we had to tear off the east side. There was wind damage.
Okay.
So there's still some on the west side.
Yep. Huh.
So yeah, it's a cool old barn. They call it balloon frame. There's no beams in there.
Yep. Yeah, Mom and Dad's is that, what they call it, hip roof, where it's all just smooth.
Open.
Yep.
Yeah.
And mine is too, but mine isn't nearly as big as this because my barn was built 57.
Okay.
And then, so it's a lot more. Then added on a single story addition in 67.
Yeah. There was some single story barns built like in the 60s and 70s. You know the lower ceilings. I mean,
Yeah.
now they open them up quite a bit, but
Yeah. Yeah, well, even mine, my barn was built for Guernseys. So,
Guernseys are almost. We had Guernseys when I was a kid because they, high butter fat, but
yeah.
they were such a pain in the ass. So we just had all Holsteins. And one time we had some Jerseys. I bought some cows from a guy that had some Jersey crosses, and they drive you nuts.
I liked my Jerseys.
People either love them or hate them.
Well, the difference with the Jerseys, you'd walk out in the cow yard and it was like a bunch of puppies coming running up and wanting to get their ears scratched.
Yeah, but we never had cows unlock chains and gates until we had Jerseys because they always had a flick with something. Yeah.
But those stalls being Guernsey stalls, if you had big, and the Holstein cow has gotten bigger over the years.
Yeah.
They just didn't fit,
Yeah, see, I've got some small, like that one there, and that one there. I've got some genetics in the barn because I kept one of the bulls. It looked like a Holstein, but it was a Jersey from that the guy we bought the cows from. And so we got some Jersey in them, so they're a little smaller stature, but they're all Holstein cows. You can see they got a little red in them yet.
Yep. Do you got any red carriers?
Yeah, we've got some, but that could be even with the Holsteins,
Yeah.
they got to carry it in order to get them. But
Yeah, I know. I'd always get excited when I get a red Holstein heifer. They don't milk any better. They don't.
yeah, but I don't know. Danny Tom had a whole herd of them, and when he had his sale, they rent good. People liked them, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. No, my jerseys were my favorite, and they fit the barn, and they did well. So I still got DHIA trophies from my jerseys. And then I got the one most improved herd from when you take away the stray voltage. It's amazing how your RH rolling herd average will go up once you get rid of voltage.
Yeah, I don't know. That and TMR helped us a lot too.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
our struggle always was just taking care of the dry cows right. I never seemed to be able to dial that in just right, But
To get them to clean and not get milk fever.
we didn't ever had trouble so much with that. Very few twisted stomachs, but never could get them up and milking as quick as I'd like. And I guess maybe we didn't push them enough to start them. But then it's a trade-off,
Yep.
whether you're going to have trouble or not. So I don't know. A lot of these big herds now, they do such a good job, but everything is, they got so many people around to monitor everything and specialize.
Yep.
So,
The dry cows, they went outside.
yeah. If we had room, we'd keep them in the barn and feed them separate. Give them just a splash of TMR and then grass hay.
Yep.
That's what we normally did. Or else they went out with the heifers. But anyway, well, I better head it back into the milk house here. I should take you up and show you that chopper box setup.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go down and show the manure
Manure
pump. Is that a Butler manure pump?
N-Tech.
Oh, it is. Which
No,
was
it might have been Butler then. Butler bought it from, it used to be Nesseth.
Yeah. Yep, Nesseth up there in Ridgeland, right?
No, Barron.
Or Barron. Okay.
Yeah.
And then because a lot of them, I
think ours was Nesseth, and then the Butler bought them after that, and then Butler bailed out of the manure pump business, and then it turned back into N-Tech.
Right.
They were building them.
But they're all the same, I believe, basically. Same design.
Open piston.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got a Butler in mine.
Yeah.
And
One thing that helped us here, I know guys have had trouble with it, manure pits, if they were like, up and up in the barn, they could get a backflow if they ever something plugged up.
Oh, gosh. That was one of my biggest fears. Like, I love Harvestore stuff, but I always thought a slurry store that's taller than your barn scared the ever-living hell out of me.
Yeah, if the gate ever give out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, our pit is lower than the bottom of the pump, so when we haul our pit out, it almost always just flows out on its own. So we still got the original transmission and motor.
Yep.
But we did
piston.
We got a new piston in there. Yeah.
Is that a Pat's or James Way?
James Way? Well, it's actually Badger, but it's a James Way cover on it.
Okay.
It's the same flat chain.
Yep. Yeah, that is. Yeah, that's the same as the Butler, that pump. And
Yeah, and then when Blotchets did this was the first time they did one where they did like a double pour, so it's the pump sits lower than the floor, so it sits down in there kind of nice.
yeah.
We've never really, knock on wood. I mean, we've had to replace the motor, but other than that, it's been, pretty trouble-free. And like I said, this is one of the nicest things we ever had on the farm was a manure pit.
Well, Don Roll had a Badger piston pump when I was a kid.
They might have built their own. I know.
Yeah, they did.
Pat's had one too.
Yeah. Badger, that one of Don's was constantly. It was so slow. Like you had to keep water running it all the time, and
we had chopped straw, but when we put the gutter grates in, and we've had different versions of sawdust, and for a long time we were getting it from Bloggies.
Yep.
But then between bagging it and selling it, it got expensive. So with this stuff here, we're getting from American Excelsior out of Rice Lake.
Yep.
It's about half price of the shavings
stuff.
And it stays underneath real good.
Well, that Badger piston pump, was so slow. And then when I bought mine with that Butler pump in there, I never had any. It was fast. It would, you could turn the barn cleaner on, and let it run for a little while till the holding pit started to get full, and then
let it run.
Yeah. Where that Badger, you'd turn it on and let it get a head start for a few minutes, and
Yeah, and the gutter grates in here started to go to hell too, but we had bought a set of gutter grates from Jim Paters way back in the day. And then they were starting to go to hell. The tabs were rusting out. So then Paul and I got steel from Toby Keller's up there, and we built our own gutter grates.
I still got a jig for building them in my shop.
Jim Pater let us use his, and what I did is they normally made 8-foot grates.
Yep.
Well, the steel is 20 foot long, so why don't you make 10-foot grates? Well, then you got, sometimes you'll have it between where a cow is.
Yep.
But it's the best use of the steel, and but they're heavier than hell.
Yeah. Well, I remember back in the day, I think Don was saying when Roman added on to the barn, he was trying to find silo hoops. They were building them, out of silo bands.
Yeah.
But you know how Norm was. Even if it didn't save him any money, he still was going to build it himself.
Well, you might have a part that's out in the shop that you might be able to use or rebuild.
Right.
Yeah, and then when they built this barn, the end has got the evaporator cooler on it, but that's gone to hell a long time ago. But that
kept the barn cool.
Oh, in '88, it was 20 degrees.
Really?
Yeah. But we just added more fans since then get more. We got 4 3-footers and 1 4-footer down there.
Oh, tunnel ventilation is one of the best things you ever did.
Right. Well, we got a good south door too, though. I mean, if the breeze is blowing,
yeah,
it helps.
Yeah. Well, I'll walk out there and then maybe I showed him the milk house, the milk coming in the receiver jar.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, go out and look at the heifer shed. And then these calves, of course, we're, haven't been calving for a while, so we're getting down, but we put these huts out for calves, and it really works out good. We put the milk bar feeder.
Yep.
So you feed them in a group, and as long as you keep the nipples up, where they got to really work at it, they don't suck on each other.
So if anybody wants some dairy or calf equipment or stuff like that, are you going to get rid of some of this?
I'll probably sell some of that stuff, yeah.
So email me if you're looking for huts or even,
yeah.
Are you going to take the pipeline and the milking equipment out?
Yeah, eventually. I guess like us, I talked to Johnny Radke, the bulk tanks and stuff aren't worth a whole lot.
Mostly for sap, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yep. Which, that's 1,000, ain't it?
It's a 1250.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
A surge.
We had a Dairy Cool ice bank tank, round one, 650.
Yep.
For 40 years.
Really?
And it finally died. So then Johnny Radke put this one in. We put this one in 16, I believe.
Well, I suppose you had to be on everyday pickup, right?
We were, yeah. So now then every other day.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had this set up with the conveyor or a TMR in there, and then we had a conveyor that went out to the heifer shed with a multi-lot deal. But once we went to the outside TMR, then we took the feeder out, and I just back in and feed the bunk with the TMR.
Yep.
So, I mean, a lot of this stuff is just, it's had it. You forget how fast time flies by.
I know.
Like I said, most of the stuff was done in the 70s and early 80s,
Yeah. Well, and back then, dairy paid well, to do and pay for that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, the guy, for the amount of equipment a guy had in the 70s, it's crazy. Everybody had a chopper and wagons and a baler and wagons and, a full fleet of equipment.
And I think that's the problem with the small dairy now is, so if you want to buy a new disc bind or something for 50 cows, well, a new disc bind's what, 30, 40? 30,
probably. My old man traded those 9-foot New Hollands for like $3,500, about every 3 years he traded for a newer hay bind.
Yeah. And now you're at 30,000, you're getting same prices for milk you did back then.
Yeah, that's why they say you got to make it up in volume.
Right. Right. Hey, it's too bad, but it's that's the way it's gone. And
oh yeah, but it isn't any different than the chickens in the 60s and the pigs in the 70s and 80s, and the dairy has been trending.
Yeah. I
didn't think they really didn't get a handle on these freestalls until I bet you into the 90s. Some of them old freestalls that were built in the 70s and 80s, I mean, they were built like a barn like this.
Well, no ventilation, no light.
Yeah, now, especially now with the cross ventilated barns, I mean, they're pretty nice.
Yeah. Yep. No, I know it. It is a big change in everything, and it's just kind of sad that how it's gone. Yeah, I'd almost forgot about Yeah, Weezer's poured those silos.
Not very many years. I know. I don't remember. There was one up at north of River Falls, and there's some over towards, Maiden Rock or Grange Hall area.
Books, they had one at Blue Ridge. You know, Don Roll bought that Blue Ridge farm. For Walt Books's, there was one there.
See, now, ours had there were 4-foot sections, so the doors like over 3, they were like this high, 3 foot,
Yep.
and they were just tongue and groove. That was never the best deal there.
Yep.
Some of the early ones, I guess, were like the old silos where they were just all open, and I don't know how they did it for the door.
Okay.
But
yeah. Was it cheaper than a stave silo?
yeah. In fact, I think at that time my dad had a price on a Harvester too, which, they were substantially more, but I kind of wish we would have just put another stave silo up because it would have had better doors in it. But
Yep.
I mean, that silo that'll stand forever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. For sure.
It's kind of neat watching them build them with the slip forms. They do 3.
Yep.
And then once it sets up, then they take the bottom form off and move it up. And, the cement truck comes and they come when they got a bucket, they just go around. It's kind of a neat process.
So back then they didn't have concrete pumps to pump it,
No,
right?
they used a cable and a bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they had some kind of a trolley that they'd run around the perimeter.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Then they had to put the roof on when it was all done.
Well, that roof, that's a replacement roof that we had a fiberglass roof on it. It was kind of neat. They had like a little fiberglass spill edge on it and everything, and it had the
Yep.
Weezer star on
Yep.
it. But that blew off in the 80 storm. All 3 silos had the roofs blown off in that 80 storm.
Yep.
We never lost the silo, but we lost all the roofs.
Boy, did this whole area change from
We
that
were kind of on
storm.
the edge of it. I know if you'd say like it started like where Clint Most Farm is, from
Yep.
there all the way to Elmwood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Martel Mutual, a lot of the insurance companies,
That's what we had.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did they pay on for you guys?
You didn't get all of it, but you got most of it. But then if you didn't have a loss, you had to kick in.
Yeah. That was a bad deal for a lot of guys, the way it sounded.
Yeah.
And,
Another one of life's lessons.
yeah.
Got to have enough insurance.
Well, right. Well, that's just it. If something happens to the barn,
Well, yeah, but the trouble is, like a barn like this, you can't even insure it for what it would cost to rebuild it.
no, because to build this back would cost.
You'd never do it.
It'd be $700,000.
Yeah.
And how could you pay for a $700,000 barn with 50 cows?
Yeah. Not going to happen.
It just no. So then you'd have to build a freestall barn and a parlor, and then you need more cows, and
No, yeah.
then you need more land because you got more cows.
You take the insurance check and you go get a job.
Yeah, it's too bad. So yeah, they're 2 Rochesters and then the Weezer here.
Yep.
Who sold the Rochesters? Because Dale Fryer sold Madison, right?
Yeah. Now Lawrence's silos were Madison,
Okay.
and these were Rochester. I don't know who he dealt with. I don't know if it was through Blodgett or if it was just somebody else. But see that, like I said, that one was built in 65, and this one was built in like 70 or 71. This is when they went to the new stave.
Yep.
And then before we built our Harvester for corn, we looked at a Rochester unit like the one that was on your farm.
Yeah.
We actually were down there looking at that when the guy had the hogs down there.
Yeah, Baker.
Okay.
Yep. Mom and Dad's there.
Yeah, and we built this in '89, this heifer shed. I had cattle at my in-laws, and they had sold their lands for development, and so then we had cattle down there in a big old hog building,
Yep.
and so we had to move them out, so then we built this building. So now it's got, these are all on feed now. The ones with the yellow tags are heifers,
Yep.
and the white tags are steers. I've got another building down below that's got a bunch of cattle in it, and then our feedlot, our other steer feedlots on the north end.
Okay.
So what I want to do is just have heifers in this section and then take all the steers over to the other one
Yep.
so I could feed them that, what do they call that stuff with
The pellets.
the MGA to keep them from coming into heat.
Oh, okay.
So right now they're just on a regular steer pellet.
Yep. Yeah.
So I still got quite a few critters around yet. Anything on the south side, there's more over that are probably out in the pasture house on the other side, but the ones on the south side are either bred or I got dry cows out here too.
Well, you and Lawrence had pastures right up next to each other, didn't you?
Yeah.
How many times did the cattle ever
No,
visit?
that was never much of an issue, no. Actually, the pasture that we got down here was part of that farm at one time, but
Okay.
the creek runs through it.
Yep.
This is the mighty Wind River.
Oh, yeah.
This ends up down to Diamond Bluff.
Okay. Well, I always laugh. Big River really isn't that big, is it?
No, it's not really. I think somebody
It was that.
elaborated a little bit, but that starts. The Trim Bell actually goes way farther north than the Big River. The Big River starts up by Cherma, up by
Yep.
Murda's and Matzick's up in there, and the Trim Bell that goes way north.
Yeah.
Actually, the Big River kind of goes more east and west as it works its way down.
Well, the land is a lot different though between, if you look at the Rush, Big River, and Trim Bell, the land is very different between all three of those rivers.
Yeah.
Big River tends to have, I think, really good soil. Some of the Trim Bell stuff is good, and some of it's pretty hit and miss.
Yeah, but that's true in a lot of places.
Yeah.
You know.
Rush River is generally good. Yeah, Lawrence's farm was something else at one time there.
Yeah. Well, then this across the road, Lawrence bought this land, years ago. But there used to be a dairy barn right there. So there was Dave Hoopert lived there. That'd be Gary's dad.
Yep.
And then Ben Hoopert lived there. That would have been his brother. And so they farmed together. And then when the older brother retired, they milked probably 15 cows. They
Yep.
had cattle around. And then he went to work over in Hudson plant, and the other brother retired. And then Gary eventually bought that building site.
Yep.
And then where the barn was, his son Josh built my dream house right there, the house and shop.
Yep.
That's my
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a dream house though?
Just walk out and work on something. I know that's what my wife and I were going to do. Well, that was my plan before we got married, and then instead I put a lot of money into an old Victorian farmhouse. So
Yeah, but they're cool too.
it is. And I like our house. I just, when I was a bachelor in tractor pulling, I would say that to her. I go, I used to have an NTPA pulling tractor. I go, now I have a Suburban.
Well, that house up on the hill up there that belonged to Steigers, that house is kind of cool. That's a big old house. That's got the big woodworking around all the doorways, and it's got the pocket doors and stuff.
Yeah.
Really cool.
That's how ours is.
Yep.
We got a stained glass window. So when we put all new Anderson windows in the house, that's one thing we did was they ordered a non-opening. It was like a special order size, so it doesn't open or anything, and it actually went over our stained glass window.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't have to remove it,
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that shed originally had the fiberglass front. that goes to hell. And then we put that polycarbonate on, but that's starting to age too.
Yeah.
Sun.
Yeah, the sun is hard on that stuff.
Here, I'll take you up in the hay barn and show you the chopper box deal that it was an idea bouncing in my head. When you milk cows, you get a lot of ideas.
Well, yeah, you got a lot of time to think. And once you were milking, I never really minded it. I didn't, you'd listen to the radio,
No, I milk mornings, then Timmy milks in the evening. So mornings are always pretty peaceful.
Yeah.
That and being a little cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool deal, that cow on there. I don't know if there's any other ones around like that. I know Lawrence he's got his name on his.
So that Quinn farm that I had owned for a little bit there, that had a cow, and John Lance's had a cow on it. But see, they weren't Harvestore though that did that. They had a guy sandblast them.
Yeah, this was part of the silo.
Yeah, and you don't see that too often. That's what's kind of cool.
I want to say they built between 30 and 40 silos in Pierce County in around that 1980. It just a lot of high moisture units, and then a number of forage units. So this is what we did here. We used to bring TMR in with the skid loader and dump it. At one time I backed in with the TMR and run it, but that wasn't the best for the floor.
Yeah.
So what we did is we put it's a 16-foot chopper box, TMR dumps in from the conveyor, and then there's a power unit. The guy that built the Wren Manufacturing,
Yep.
they had Honda motors on them. They built them either with PTO, hydraulic, or both. I called him. I said, "Hey, would like to get one with an electric motor on." He goes, "Oh, I've been kind of dinking around trying to put one together, but never decided to sell them." So I bought it. It was like a demo deal, and it's worked out really good. I just run power to it. And this chopper box, they take a beating with that feed in there all the time, plus the mineral and stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to add plywood to the sidewalls. We had to put a new apron in it, new cross conveyor. This is the second wagon we've had in here.
Was it a new wagon when you?
It was newer, not new.
Oh, okay.
But now they make them for these guys that have the automated TMRs.
Yep.
They make them with stainless, and they're geared down and everything. But this is just a standard chopper box.
With that is an old barrel.
Oh God, my grandson found it in a outbuilding. I bet you that's from the 70s at least.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. From up at the Farmers Union.
Yeah, and then I'll probably be getting rid of these things too. These
calf warmers.
Yeah, they're lifesavers for little calves. So so it's a big open barn.
That was a air shaft right there.
There was one on each side. Okay, one's on the southwest, one's on the northeast. So if the air was blowing from the different directions, it would either go down. It would go down to the basement floor and up.
Yep.
And so they got eliminated. And then I don't know when they quit using the hay carrier. Probably
50s.
In the 50s when they built that addition on the north end.
Yeah, because I would guess they loaded the hay through there, so they can't.
Yeah, they can't do that. Because that got tinned over. But I do have a farm picture that's got a straw pile on the north end of the barn, which is kind of cool.
Well, yeah, probably. I'm guessing. Well, 50s is when hay balers really took off.
Yeah,
I would think. You must have had. So do you remember them having like a 14T and a 24T?
Yeah, the 14T. My dad said he almost went to New Holland after that baler, so he went to a 24T, and we had that baler for a long time. Then we went to a 336.
Yeah.
Which everybody had a 336.
That 14T, wasn't that the one that was kind of dangerous because they had a mechanical kicker?
We just had the chute.
Okay. Because I remember there was some people that got, because them mechanical kickers would stay sprung, if they weren't released.
Well, even the hydraulic ones were dangerous if you didn't lock it out.
Right.
There's been a few people that got hurt from them.
My grandpa got kicked in the head. Luckily, I don't know how. We never had it on one, but for whatever reason, it was on one. The baler had missed. Grandpa reached in there, and Dad was just turning the PTO on, pulling into the windrow, and it kicked, and it got him in the head. He spent the night in the hospital in Red Wing, but it was only on number one. Yeah. I don't know if it knocked any sense into him.
Well, our 336 had a chute on it too, and then when my brother Mike left to go to college, he went down to Phoenix for a while. Then we bought a kicker and wagons, and then when we started doing more haylage, we quit making bales, so we got rid of the kicker, and then we bought a 328 with a wider pickup, and then we had 2 hay baskets. We actually liked them. The ones that just pushes it into the front. Yep. Yeah, we liked them.
Yeah, because
we'd bring them in and dump them. We'd have a hay conveyor, and then we had a hay elevator, then we had a conveyor laying on the ground, so you'd back up the hay basket, and then you'd dump the bales out on the ground.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I can let you finish up chores, Pat, but
yeah,
I thought it'd be kind of cool to, see when everything's still working, because, man, I wish I had more. I wish I had some video of the barn with everybody in it and doing chores and,
yeah,
Alrighty.
Well, thanks.
I was just telling somebody the other day, though, that I had that low roof in the milk house, super low roof. I had a 600-gallon deal of L round bulk tank, and the washer never worked because Tingleoff had just let it freeze and fall apart. So I said, if I had to milk cows again in my barn, I said, I don't think I could do it, because I used to crawl. I had this much space between the the ceiling and the lid of that bulk tank, and I'd crawl in there and scrub that bulk tank by hand every other day.
Well, when they built this was built around 1970, and the guys laughed that it was so big. They said it was like, they called it the Big River Motel. But now it'd be a utility room,
Right? Oh yeah. Well, yeah, half them guys when they expanded, they had a tiny milk house, and then they had to put the bulk tank half in, half out.
Right.
Because it was so, tiny milk houses. So, yeah, you might have to keep a few cattle around just so that the barn stays.
Well, we're gonna try. I'd like to have younger ones in the barn, and then the bigger ones will be outside. So,
Are you gonna?
hopefully, just raise some steers.
Okay, you're not gonna get a cow calf beef.
I don't want to mess with beef cows.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Lawrence did that for years, didn't he?
He didn't have beef cows. He had.
Well, that was just steers.
Yep.
Because he dairied at one time, didn't he?
Oh yeah. He switched the barn full. He
Yeah.
did buy some beef cows from out west and fed them, but I mean, he never had like beef cows. Oh,
Okay.
he did actually years ago. He had beef cows on another farm. He was
Okay.
actually quite a busy guy back in the day. He had hogs too.
Yep.
So,
Was that light on the side of the milk house? Is that when the vacuum pump was running?
when it's in the wash cycle. As
Okay.
soon as while it's washing, so then when you could look, and if it was shut off, you knew it went through. Well, that hasn't worked for a long time, but
Okay.
that was Surge had that put on there.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks, Pat. Good luck with. And if somebody wants some of that calf stuff, well, email me.
Alrighty.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Being that I was in Big River, anyways, I wanted to show a couple of the farms that I really love around here. So this is Mackenzie Rolls farm that was her grandpa, Gene Hooper's. Just a beautiful farm. And this Big River Valley has some great land, but Harvestores, silos, so there's a Harvestore, I think that's just the sweep, not the power sweep. A Goliath here. Poured silo. And I don't know if this is a Weezer poured. I don't think it is. I like the roof on this silo though. James Way conveyors. There is still some cattle around here, but it hasn't been dairying here for quite a while. But what a neat farm. It sits down in this valley, and it's a neat farmstead. Beautiful old farmhouse. So, and that was a matching silo to this one over here on the neighboring farm. A small addition on the barn. I could count the stalls originally, but I would guess, well, I don't know if there's even 40 stalls. Seems kind of funny. Put a addition on that was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 16 cows. So it might hold 40. What a cool barn. And it looks like it's not buckling real bad in here, which is good. Because that's the problem. The frost is getting these barns. And, you can see this wall here. And that's what's really sad is, seeing these farms, sit. But all in all, that barn is standing pretty nice, which is good. Here's something kind of cool. That's neat. So yeah, look at how small that addition is. Here's another farm that I really like, and we're on top of the hill now. And no more cattle in here within, and it's been fairly recent. I guess probably, 10 years maybe since the cows were gone. But, traditional, 2-story barn with a single-story addition. Harvestores. At least that Harvestore is definitely getting used for a cell phone. Anyway. But just a cool barn. It's just too bad that these barns aren't enough anymore to make a living with. Some people still do, but it's hard. And such a cool farm. So that one, I think that's a power sweep, but Goliath in the big Harvestore here, I think this is an 80-footer. Oh, Goliath in this one too. Yeah. TMR. Yeah, so I thought you guys would really enjoy seeing some farms. I have a big tractor story to record Tuesday. And I thought, let's do a farm tour today. And I don't know if I'll put that up on Tuesday or maybe I'll make it the Friday story. It's a big one. So I've been wanting to do that one for a long time. So anyways, but yeah, this will always be kind of my favorite look of farming, through the era of farming, would be when these farms were, when these farms kept everything going. When this was a successful size farm, this will always be what I like, So anyways, yeah, thanks everybody. I hope you like the farm tour video. I know people have asked about doing one of these. And I said, yeah, let's do that this week. Especially with, I wanted to get Pat's farm dairying before the cows are gone. So, yeah, it's too bad that small dairies are just not. Some people make them work, but they're just not the business that they were. They're not big enough. So, but we can still, celebrate them. So, anyways, but yeah, this is pretty farms, pretty country. So, yeah. Things look pretty good out here too. There's some tile around here, I think. All right. So thanks again, everybody, for watching.